Here's a short sequence of practices to work internal and external rotation at this shoulder joint. And if you like, add in the hips as well. So you're going to place a small towel, like a hand towel, folded up, so you have a couple of inches of width. As you place that towel folded on the wall, you'll place your left elbow on the wall. Now you'll see, I want to work hip rotation at the same time, so I'm setting up the legs in a 90-90 position, meaning knees 90 degrees at each joint there, and the hip crease also at about 90 degrees. But you may want to vary this angle. You could even do just the shoulder rotation on its own. So you're placing the left elbow against the wall, pushing into your soft padded surface, keeping that elbow a good inch or two away from the wall with that folded towel, and then rotate just the left arm at first. Your external rotation and your internal rotation. Now I'm making a fist with the left hand. You might choose to flatten out the palm. Either way, keep that wrist as neutral as you can. So when you go into this external rotation, you don't want the wrist trying to bend and help you with that action. The wrist stays neutral, and all the rotation happens up here at the arm bone. You can also add a light weight. I would say just start with 1 or 2 or 3 pounds here. And the real work is actually in driving the elbow into the wall. You don't even need to use a hand weight because you can push into this totally unmovable object here with as much pressure, as much force as you wish, keeping your left shoulder away from the wall as you drive the elbow into the towel and the wall. So my left arm is already getting tired from that isometric push of the elbow as I rotate. Now, you can rest that elbow, go on to the other side, or you can add in some other movements. So here I've put a towel, also a larger one, underneath my left knee for a little bit of support. You could use a pillow or a Pilates ball, anything that gives you enough height so that there's no strain on the outer knee if you begin to involve the hips more. So each time that you exhale and internally rotate this left arm and drive the elbow into the wall, go ahead and twist your rib cage towards the wall like you want to punch it with your right arm. And then open back up. Let's externally rotate both arms now. Bring as much of your upper back to the wall as you can, although I will admit my right upper back is not as close to the wall as my left upper back is. And then go ahead and internally rotate both arms, driving the left elbow into that wall. Twist your rib cage towards the wall and act like you're going to punch the wall with your right arm. Externally rotate both upper arm bones as you open up and place as much of your back on the wall as you can. Now, the legs are not moving as you do this, but you'll start to feel the action in the hip joint. Your rotation is changing in each hip joint as you move the trunk. So go nice and slow. Keep driving left elbow into the wall and start to drive the inner right knee down into the floor as well. If you want even more hip work, every time you punch this wall and twist your rib cage towards it, lift your right foot. Drive your right inner knee down into the mat just as much as you're driving the left elbow into the mat. Now, remember, at any point, if this gets too complicated, go back to just one thing at a time, starting with just that left shoulder rotation, and add in just the elements that are useful for you. Driving the elbow into the wall creates a lot of strength as you explore your rotation for that left shoulder. And then of course you're going to do this all on the other side. The two sides may feel very different from each other, so when you set up on the other side, you may want more or less of a towel or other prop underneath that right knee. You might choose to set your knee angles slightly different. You might set up your right sitting bone a little closer to the wall or further away from the wall. Notice as I come into a full 90-90, my left hip now is not completely touching the floor, especially at first, but my right hip is. My right knee is supported by this prop. My right knee is a little less, my right hip is a little less flexible in external rotation right now, so I'm making this prop a little thicker. So once you're ready, you're going to focus on that right upper arm bone. You're going to drive the right elbow into the wall. Keep your right shoulder away from the wall. Check on that. As you begin to rotate, watch your right wrist. Is your right wrist staying pretty neutral as the upper arm bone, the humerus, does the rotation? Does it look about the same as the rotation you saw? Even more importantly, does it feel the same as the rotation you felt on the left side? Take some time to warm it up and steady your breathing. I didn't mention the breathing on the first side, but the slower you can breathe, the more your nervous system will get used to exerting the muscular effort to push the elbow into the towel and keep your right shoulder at least an inch away from that wall as you rotate. Inhale through the nose. Exhale through the nose or the mouth. When you're ready to add in the trunk, you'll externally rotate the right arm, and as you internally rotate it, bring your torso, the front of your torso, your rib cage, towards the wall, twisting your rib cage to the right. Take that left arm and act like you want to punch it into the wall. You might wind up tapping or pressing the wall, but you don't have to. And then open it all up, externally rotate both arms. Bring your left upper back towards the wall. Although again, my left upper back is not touching the wall, even though my right shoulder blade and upper back is. And then internally rotate both arm bones again. As you twist your rib cage to the right, act like you're going to punch or press the wall, and then open it back up. External rotation, internal rotation. Breathe all the way through. Exhaling for the most challenging parts of the movement. Inhaling for the easier parts or when you're pausing. And then if you want to add in that left thigh internal rotation, then every time you twist your rib cage and internally rotate your arms, press that inner left knee down into the mat, lift that foot as you internally rotate the left thigh. Externally rotate, internally rotate arms and left thigh. External, internal, driving that right elbow into the wall. Remember, that's one of the reasons we're using that folded towel between the right elbow and the wall, is so you can press really firmly the whole time you rotate. And then when you're ready to come out of it, you might back yourself away from the wall a little bit and just drop those knees side to side a few times. Roll out the shoulders a few times. And come on up to standing, see how everything feels.